Hello everybody. Alright, so what are you going to need to do to be able to get a level 2 on the final? So you definitely need to know how to find missing sides, how to solve a right triangle. And so what I did was I put up here some notes, right? So you look over in the green and it said what is given. So what do they give you? So the first thing you want to do is when you look at a problem, well, what do they give you? They give you two sides of a right triangle, right? Remember, this only works for right triangles. This whole section is about right triangles. What is given? Two sides. Find the third side. What do you use? Pythagorean theorem. If they give you one side, oops, and one angle, it should say one, and one angle, and one of the angles is a 30 or a 60 or it's a 45, and they're asking you to find the other and any of the other sides of the triangle, you're going to be using special right triangles, and then I gave you the formulas for each. Okay. What is given? They give you one side and one angle, and the angle is any degree, it's not a special. Then they want you to find any of the other sides of the triangle, you're going to use trig ratios, and there's the basic notes for it. The last one is if they want you to find what is given. If they give you two sides of a triangle and they want you to find a missing angle, this is the first time they're asking you to find a missing angle, you're going to use the inverse trig, and those are the formulas. Okay? You just fill in, you fill in, oops, should be sine inverse, cosine inverse, tan inverse. So it's a different button. You want the inverse tan, inverse sine, okay, with a -1, little tiny -1. Some of the things you're going to need to know, this stuff, and that'll help you be successful. Alright, to find a missing side of a right triangle, you have to make sure you know which one is the hypotenuse. And then the first thing you want to do is you want to write down the formula. You want to make sure your C, that is always the biggest side, it's always the longest side. Your hypotenuse is always the longest side. These ones don't matter the order that you put them in. Solve for it. The biggest mistake that people made on some of the tests, you want to make sure you take the square root of all of that. And you also want to be watching out for Pythagorean triples, right? That was on that first page of notes. I think that was here. Special Pythagorean triples. You want to keep an eye out for those, because if you do, you can save time, and if you on the test, you realize, oh, that's a Pythagorean triple. 6, 7, I think this is 10, 7. Is it not? It is not a Pythagorean triple. But if it is, then what you want to do is you want to state that it is a Pythagorean triple. If it were a Pythagorean triple and you recognize they gave you 3 and 4 and you're like, oh, it's a right triangle, the other side must be 5, just state Pythagorean triple. You know what it looks like. Alright, and then I know that you memorized it or used notes or whatever. But this is radical 80. You need to be able to simplify a radical. This is 5 times 2, this is 4 times 2, this is 2 times 2. You want to circle all the pairs. Oops, there's a pair there, so pair of 2's. You want to rewrite this as a pair of 2's times a pair of 2's times 5. All of the bottoms of the tree. Any of the pairs come out. Any of the pairs come out. When it comes out as 1. Multiply them back together, you got 4 radical 5. This is your answer. X equals 4 radical 5. This one here is 5/14. It's the same thing, but in this case, again, make sure you're paying attention to which one is the hypotenuse. Again, that's the biggest mistake people make, is just carelessness. I don't know, what's 114 times 14? Anyway, it's the same idea. Okay, just keep going. If you want to know the answer, number 2 was 3 radical 19. Number 3, honestly, even though these are super important, we don't have time to make sure that you know how to do it. You should know how to do it. The biggest thing here is you want to look for the biggest number. Sometimes, a lot of the times, they're going to put it over here on the right, but if they didn't, make sure that 10 radical 2 isn't actually bigger. Use a calculator. do 10 radical 2, see what you get. They might be fooling you. It might not look like it's bigger, but it might actually be bigger. This one here, let's take a look. Calculator, 10 radical 2, 10 radical 2 is 14.14 blah blah blah. So it turns out 15 is your C. You do the same thing. The big thing here is when you take 10 radical 2 and you square it, you're going to get 10 times 10, which is 100, and you're going to get radical 2 times radical 2, which is 2. So that whole thing is actually 200. You just want to be careful there. Alright, I'm going to skip that one, that one. The next thing you're going to want to be able to know how to do is, well, actually one of these. And again, the big thing is to make sure that you understand how to do this part right here. The rest is the same. If you want to look at the answer for number 3 is, oh, no. Number 3 is actually state if it forms a right triangle. But what if it were to say, is it a, find the missing side, and let's say we had that. It would depend on whether it was asking you to find, they're going to give you a picture. So if they want you to find the longest side, the biggest thing again is to make sure you know how to do that. And the last thing you definitely need to be able to do for a level 2 is you need to be able to find a missing side of a special right. It may not be as easy as this one. Right, this is 6, this is 6, this is 6 radical 2. Oops, 6, 6, 6 radical 2. 8, 8, 8 radical 2. 2 radical 2, 2 radical 2. This one's a little bit harder. You have to multiply times radical 2. You're going to get 2 times 2, which is 4. Or they might give you a 3060. Sorry, I might give you a 3060. If this is 4, this is the longest side. Oops, this one's a bit hard. If they give you the longest side, you're going to have to multiply. You're going to have to actually do some work. So let's move on, because that is actually level 3. Again, level 3. Oh, there you go. This is a level 2. This is 3 radical 2. 3 radical 3. Remember the formula for a 30, 60, 90 special right triangle. The longest side, which is this one, because this is the shortest side, the longest side is away from the 60 degrees. The longest side is something radical 3. Well, that something is your shortest side. So V equals 3, U equals 6. So another one. Alright, this one they give you 5 radical 3. This is the longest side, so the shortest side is 5. Hypotenuse is twice as big as the shortest side, 10. X is 10, Y is 5. Or you might get one like this. They give you the hypotenuse. Well, the shortest side is half as big as the hypotenuse. So the shortest side is 7. And this is 7 radical 3. Hypotenuse is 6. Shortest side is 3. 3 radical 3. Longest side is 3. You get to level 3. Shortest side is 2. Hypotenuse is 4. Longest side is 2 radical 2. Hypotenuse is 4 radical 3. That means this is half of that, which is 2 radical 3. And the longest side is times radical 2. So it's 2 radical 6. And that's pretty much it for level 2.